Hey there, race fans. It's race day, top 5 with me, Frank 5. Viva Las Vegas! We all know what happens there. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Catching it in big, crapping out, but also phenomenal racing with incredible restarts on this fast mile-and-a-half track. At the end of the day, a big win for one of NASCAR's youngest and exciting drivers in a big redemption comeback story. Let's get into the action that happened in Las Vegas today. Number 1, Kyle Larson. Yes, you heard me right. Kyle Larson, back in NASCAR after all that he's gone through, captures his first win of the 2021 season, his first win with Hendrick Motorsports, and his first win in the number 5, and first win for new crew chief Cliff Daniels, capturing today's Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, winning over Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney, the top 5. Kyle Larson, it's just so good to see him back because we all know what this guy has gone through. Last year, he was employed with Chip Ganassi Racing in the first 4 races, was sitting in the top 10 in points. Then the pandemic comes, and then early in April, he's competing in an iRacing event live, and caught on the live stream, he accidentally uttered the N-word, which if some of you know what it is and know what it means, I'm not going to say it. It's not appropriate at all whatsoever. Kyle Larson was caught saying the N-word, and NASCAR and Chip Ganassi heard about it, and they originally suspended Larson. Chevrolet suspended Larson and his contract with them. And then the following day, Kyle Larson was officially released from Chip Ganassi Racing and didn't run a single NASCAR race for the rest of the year. He apologized about it, and then he went on a little bit of a break and just got away from NASCAR and went back dirt racing, which didn't affect him whatsoever. And then he comes back a little later in the year and issues a real public apology saying that he made a mistake and he wants to become a better person and make up for his consequences. And Rick Hendrick took a big chance on Kyle Larson to give him another opportunity to be competitive in NASCAR and give him a chance to avenge his mistake from a year ago by driving the 4th Hendrick entry and bringing back the number 5, a number that hadn't won since 2017 with Casey Kane in the Brickyard 400. Kyle Larson today, in his first season with Hendrick Motorsports, with sponsorship from Nation's Guard, but mostly Hendrick automotive companies because he doesn't have major sponsorship yet until he proves himself. Kyle Larson was just phenomenal today. He was dominant. He was very fast. He led the most laps, 103 laps. He won stage 2. He never put a foot wrong today. He did a phenomenal job on the racetrack, running it high, wide, and handsome at the very end of the race. I mean, there's not a single NASCAR fan that probably did not want to see Kyle Larson win. Everybody, I think, wanted to see Kyle Larson win this season. I didn't expect it this early, though, but bravo to Kyle Larson and his team. Cliff Daniels, his first win in the Cup Series as a crew chief. The last couple years, he was Jimmy Johnson's crew chief. They weren't able to get to victory lane. They had a couple of good runs here and there, but, Jimmy Johnson was at the end of his career anyways. And this year, Cliff Daniels paired up with Kyle Larson. And so far this year, the first couple of races, 3 top 10s in the first 4 races, which includes today's win. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so good to have Kyle Larson back because NASCAR needs this guy because he's a dirt racer and he can run these old abrasive racetracks and even these clean mile-and-a-half tracks up towards the wall, giving us something to watch, something very exciting. And he's been very competitive in the first few races so far this year. He had that one bad finish in the road course at Daytona where he had a lot of bad luck late in the race. But Kyle Larson has shown speed from the get-go since he stepped into a Hendrick car. We've all been wondering, even in his time with Ganassi when he was driving for them, how good would he be if he got in a Hendrick car, which is a pretty big upgrade from Ganassi. Ganassi's a great race team, but it's not Hendrick Motorsports, which is one of the top teams in NASCAR. So far, we're seeing how good Kyle Larson is in a Hendrick car. And ladies and gentlemen, I would not be shocked if Kyle Larson made the championship 4. I know that's a little too bold prediction, but I think there's a realistic possibility Larson can be in the championship 4 by the end of the 2021 season. So congrats to Kyle Larson and Cliff Daniels. We're so glad to have him back and seeing him win races. I think this is the first of many for him this year. Number 2, Brad Keselowski had his best finish of the season with a second place today, won stage 1, very competitive and probably the best of the Fords today. I mean, there were a couple other guys up there, his teammates were up there, but he basically carried the Ford banner all day long, running up in the lead, and it seemed like him and Larson were the best cars for the majority of this race because they could pull away as the longer runs came as we had longer runs, and those two could just put a gap on those other cars. about 20 laps after a restart. And they were just absolutely flat out dominant, both of them. I mean, you're seeing now how good the Penske program is on the mile and a half at some of these type of racetracks. And Brad Keselowski and crew chief Jeremy Bolin said, we're going to learn more about our mile and a half program at today's race more than last week, because Homestead, it's an up and down race because you have guys racing on an old abrasive racetrack which can chew up the tires. This track doesn't necessarily chew up the tires like Homestead or what we're going to have in a couple weeks in Atlanta. But still, it was a great performance by the 2 car today, and I expect they'll win a lot of races this year. Number 3, Ryan Blaney desperately needed to cash in big with a good run today, because the first 3 races, no top 10s, no top 5s, not a single lap led. He still didn't lead a lap. But Ryan Blaney put up his best performance of the year, coming from the 26th starting spot. He started deep in the field because of how bad they've been the first 3 races. Not necessarily, the finishes haven't been there. I mean, they have speed, but not the speed that we've been looking for. Today, we finally got it with the 12 car. He ran up with the leaders all day long. I mean, by far, he was perhaps the 3rd best car in today's race. He got in a situation, a couple of restarts where he fell back, but kept picking his way back up to the front and got a 5th place out of it. It's a great result and a big boost of confidence for his team that gives them momentum going forward. Because we all know Ryan Blaney is a great race car driver, but we're just waiting for him to have more than just 1 win seasons. We want to see him win more than just 1 race, because ever since 2017, it's been 1 win a season, 1 win a season, 1 win a season, 1 win a season. I like to see him get more than 1 win this season. I like to see him get 2 or 3 or 4. 4 maybe a little bit over the realm, but I think 2 or 3 is a possibility for Blaney, but he has to get number 1 first. But regardless, a top 5, top 10 performance today, a 5th place finish for Blaney is big going forward, and I expect them to carry this on into the next couple of races down the road. Number 4, competitiveness among the top tier organizations. The first couple of races so far has been kind of parity. We didn't expect these first 3 races to have these winners: Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, William Byron. Even though I predicted William Byron was going to make the playoffs, I have 1 prediction right so far, and now we have another guy in the playoffs that I thought was going to make it anyways, in Kyle Larson. Today you saw the big tier teams that we normally expect to see running up front for the majority of these NASCAR races throughout an entire season. We saw Gibbs up there, we saw the Penske guys, we saw Hendrick Motorsports up there, we saw a couple other teams, like we saw Kurt Busch at times, Matt DiBenedetto, who needed a good result. He got 16th place out of today, which isn't bad, but they'll get better results on the road. We saw a lot of those guys up front today. Like, all the Hendrick cars were competitive. All the Gibbs cars ran well today. All the Penske cars ran well today. The one team that didn't really bring their best to the track today, Stuart Haas Racing. I mean, they were not competitive. I mean, Kevin Harvick started on the pole because of, based on average finish and how good he's been the first couple of races. His top 10 streaks officially come to a close today, as well as Michael McDowell's. Harvick really struggled today. He finished 1 lap down in the top 20. It was just a bad performance overall. Briscoe, he's still getting adjusted to these new Cup cars. Cole Custer struggled, and Eric Almirola had a tire go down late in the race, or something was broken in the left front wheel because it was turned to the left, which is not what you would expect out of a Cup car. So he officially retired and finished dead last in the race. But mostly today we saw the teams that you expect to see up front on a weekly basis up front today. And I think I think a lot of NASCAR fans and a lot of NASCAR teams that usually run up front on a weekly basis with the normal competitors, like a Larson, like a Keselowski, like a Hamlin, a Kyle Busch, Blaney, Truex, Elliott, Bowman, Byron, Logano, as I mentioned. You saw a lot of those guys up front today, and I think, we're going to see that in the next couple of races and probably throughout the rest of the season. You'll may see a couple surprises in a couple races this year, but today, I think we all went back to reality. The big boys, the guys we usually see battling for wins, top 5s, top 10s, battling week in and week out up front today. So it kind of felt nice to go back to that. And number 5, the racing today at Las Vegas. We saw a great race last week at Homestead with a lot of comers and goers in that race. The racing today, especially these Las Vegas restarts, are crazy. They're 3 and 4 wide for 10 consecutive laps. How do these guys not crash? There were a couple of incidents, and I'll bring up one of them in a moment, which kind of relates to him, but sort of able to rebound in ways. You saw a lot of competitive action, and even as the run progressed, 10 to 15 laps into a run, these guys were still battling it out, and you didn't really get a big advantage on guys in the early portion of this race. You could literally have a gap of about half a second in front of second place, and then second place runs back down and passes you, and then a couple laps later, you get back up to him and pass him. This package, the 550 horsepower package today at Las Vegas, produced some really good racing. And I hope to see that in more of these mile and a halves this year because, like in the past, the cookie cutter tracks, we call them, what we call the mile and a halves, they have been kind of less exciting to watch. Then we introduced the 550 horsepower package in 2019 and saw a couple of races that were really fun to watch. We saw a couple of them last year. Both Las Vegas races last year were great. Today's race was really, really good too, seeing a lot of competitive. I mean, we had more lead changes in today's race than we had in the fall race here in the playoffs last year. That's impressive. So kudos to all the teams that brought their best to the race today and put on an exciting show for some fans that were in attendance today. So far this year we've had races with limited fan attendance, but still fans at the track nonetheless is great for the sport. And today Las Vegas was a really good race. Finally, driver recap, Chase Elliott, really good in the beginning of the race, led 22 laps, battled out for the stage win with Brad Keselowski late in the going, finished third in that stage, or second in the stage. I can't remember. We finished top 5 in that stage. Then we fell back a little bit. Actually, he got some damage on the right side of his car on pit road because the jack, when you jack up the car changing the tires on the right or left side, the right side, it kind of messed up the skirt at the bottom a little bit, but luckily Elliott came to pit road at the end of stage 1 and fixed that and worked his way back up to the top 10. And then at the beginning of stage 3, he spun off of turn 2 because the car got loose, clipped Kurt Busch a little bit, but Elliott thankfully didn't sustain any more damage. And the best he could do was rebound and get a 13th place finish out of it, which for spin, that's not bad. I mean, we're going to get more. I mean, we only have one top 5 so far, which is the second place finish in the Daytona 500. But the Elliott cars has still shown good speed. I'm not sure if we have winning speed right now, but we have relatively good speed. We'll get better. We'll get back to winning races and battling up front for the lead more often. And the track we're up to next, Phoenix, last time we were there, Chase Elliott not only won the race, but he won the championship. So hopefully we'll carry it back. I mean, it was a good rebound today from the spin to get 13th. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll take that. It's better than finishing deep in the pack, or could have been the Stuart Haas car today that didn't bring their A game. So up next is the desert track in Phoenix, and we all saw how good the racing was at both venues last year in that race before the pandemic hit. That was the last race we had, especially with full fans. At the racetrack, we saw phenomenal racing on the restarts with a good tire combination, and the grip strip at the top lane provided some phenomenal racing. And then we had the championship race there last year, first time in Phoenix. And I thought it was really fun, really exciting between all 4 drivers battling it out for the majority of the race. And hopefully we'll see a lot of the normal front runners this upcoming weekend race in Phoenix. Will Kevin Harvick reclaim the crown as the Desert King? Because we haven't seen that in the past. Will Chase Elliott pick up from his championship last year at that race and win this weekend? Will we see another new driver, somebody you don't expect, like Cole Custer or Matt DiBenedetto, who still needs some good runs, or Eric Almirola? Or will we see your normal suspects like an Elliott, a Harvick, a Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Truex, Keselowski, Logano, Blaney, or now Kyle Larson battle out for the win? Time will tell, my friends, until we hit the desert next week. So subscribe, like, congrats to Kyle Larson. So happy to see you back in Victory Lane, and so good to have you back in NASCAR. We missed you. And I hope you all enjoyed today's race. Until then, have a great week, have a safe week, have a blessed week, and thank you guys for supporting my channel. Just want to say that because I appreciate the support. See ya!